let's jump right into today's explainer. You know, when we think of luxury watches, one name just instantly pops into our heads, right? Rolex. But here's the kicker. They didn't become a massive global icon just by slapping a huge price tag on their products. Today, we're going to dig into how this one brand mastered something way more valuable than time itself. We're talking about trust, prestige, and ultimate exclusivity.
So it really makes you wonder, how exactly did Rolex become the absolute most iconic watch brand on the planet? How did they pull that off? Well, the answer isn't some magic formula, or simply being the most expensive option in the jewelry case. It's actually a century-long masterclass in building a reputation that is completely bulletproof. Let's unpack the whole thing.
Starting off with Section 1, the wristwatch revolution and shifting the paradigm.
To really get why they dominate today, we gotta travel all the way back to the early 1900s. Founder Hans Wilsdorf was facing a truly massive uphill battle. See, back then, pocket watches were the gold standard, but the catch was they were incredibly fragile. The whole idea of strapping a delicate piece of clockwork to your wrist, people literally thought it was a joke. But Wilsdorf, he saw things differently. He had this wild vision for rugged, ultra-reliable wristwatches. He just had to convince a very skeptical world that he wasn't crazy.
That brings us to Section 2, the Rolex Oyster, proving the unthinkable. Wilsdorf totally understood that just saying his watches were tough wouldn't cut it. He needed hard, undeniable proof. So after founding the company in 1905 with a laser focus on precision, they hit this massive breakthrough in 1926 with the Rolex Oyster. It was the very first commercially successful waterproof watch. But here is the absolute genius part. In 1927, they had a swimmer named Mercedes Gleitz wear it during a grueling, icy, 10-hour swim across the English Channel. When she finally got out of the water, that watch was ticking perfectly. They didn't just tell the world their watches worked, they proved it on a massive global stage.
And they really capitalized on that momentum. Rolex systematically started proving their durability time and time again. They began literally strapping their watches to the wrists of people who were heading into the absolute harshest conditions on Earth. We're talking explorers, deep-sea divers, mountaineers, pilots, and scientists. By surviving these insanely extreme environments on the wrists of total professionals, Rolex built a rock-solid, unquestionable reputation.
But you know, they didn't just stay out at the extreme edges of the Earth. In this brilliant strategic pivot, Rolex took that rugged reputation and totally elevated it. They started moving into the world of elite sports and global athletes, sponsoring incredibly prestigious events. This move deeply embedded the brand into the whole culture of high achievement and luxury. Suddenly, you weren't just buying a survival tool anymore, you were buying a symbol of success.
Moving on to Section 3, engineering scarcity, the mechanics of desire.
Now, jumping into the modern era, Rolex's insane power as a status symbol relies heavily on this ridiculously strict operational pipeline. Way before a watch even gets close to a display case, they have this three-step process: carefully managed production, super rigorous quality control, and strictly controlled distribution. And make no mistake, this is entirely deliberate. By keeping an iron grip on every single step, they practically guarantee that global demand is always going to outpace supply. They are literally engineering the scarcity that makes people want them so badly.
And because of that engineered scarcity, along with their completely unwavering brand consistency, we end up seeing a really striking contrast in today's market. Just think about standard luxury goods for a second. They almost always drop in value the minute you buy them. But Rolex, they maintain a remarkably strong resale value. It's almost unheard of, really. It's the direct mathematical payoff of spending decades fiercely protecting their brand equity.
Which leads us to our final section, Section 4, selling confidence. More than a watch.
Ultimately, it all boils down to this really powerful idea. Rolex doesn't just sell watches. It sells confidence, achievement, and a reputation that has been carefully built for more than a century. The wild success of this brand isn't about some flashy new product launch. When someone finally gets their hands on a Rolex, they aren't just buying gears and dials, right? They're buying a physical, wearable piece of a painstakingly protected, century-old legacy.
Because at the end of the day, true luxury is built on decades of trust. Rolex totally proves that this level of prestige is never, ever created overnight. The strongest product in the market isn't always the one with the most bells and whistles. It's usually the one people have learned to trust the absolute most. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Look at the brands you admire most today. Are they just selling you a product, or have they mastered the art of selling trust?